Friday, here on Overtime, I walked you through some things past iPhone supercycles have had in common to help you handicap whether we'll get one this time with the iPhone 16. There are three broad categories: new network and AI capabilities, like with the iPhone 4S's FaceTime and 3.5G and iPhone 12's 5G. Geographic expansion, like when the China rollout accelerated with the iPhone 6, and improved screen and camera features with the iPhone 6, 10, and 12. Let's look at how the 16 scores. Network and AI? Well, yes. Photos, stories, AI photo and video moment search that we saw there in the presentation. There's even AI to create video out of the photos and videos in your library. And Siri is enhanced now with generative AI. What about global geographic expansion? Actually, no. Apple Intelligence for non-English languages, a lot of them coming next year. Particularly India and China are important because they've got huge populations, and the satellite communications features aren't going to be available in China and India initially. All right, how about screen and camera? Yes, you have this new button for camera control. You can search for, you take a picture of a dog, it'll tell you what kind of dog it is, maybe info about a new restaurant by taking a picture of the restaurant without having to speak or type. Also, the camera itself has been improved with macro shooting capabilities, being able to get really up close. And there's a bigger battery on the phone overall. Larger display as well on the Pro model, slightly larger, but still larger in this redesign. So, 2 out of 3. How does that fare? Let's talk more about it with our next guest. Joining us now, Ben Bajarin. He is the CEO of Creative Strategies. Ben, you're there at the event. I sort of looked through when we had super cycles in the past. It had been going on kind of a 3-year cadence, but we're not going to hit it in 24. Does it look possible, even likely in 25?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on all the right points, right? The dynamics that led to the last super cycle, which I think also included a good portion of upgrades being pulled forward into those first 6 months, is really just a phenomenon that I just really have a hard time believing we're going to see again. But at the same time, I do think the one reality for iPhone is that they have a very aging installed base. And the big question the last few years has always been, when is a good portion of that base that's on 4- and 5-year-old phones going to upgrade when they just haven't felt the need because their devices do all the things that they want them to do. And I think that within the iPhone 16 line, they've actually offered enough value there that I think that's going to convince a lot of consumers, which, in years past, we've noticed a mix shift more toward iPhone Pro than the base level iPhone 16s. And I think that might rebalance again this year just because of all the features and technology that's packed into iPhone 16, as well as, again, aggressive carrier updates. So while I don't think super cycle, I definitely think we'll see a stronger cycle to upgrade, and particularly that's going to benefit the iPhone 16.
Ben, part of the story of the last 4 years, I think, for the iPhone line has been the broadening of it. People were shocked when the iPhone 10 cost $1,000. Who would pay that much? But they actually managed to build on these Pro and Pro Max models going above that. And then the iPhone SE, they turned that into a viable, though underpowered, but viable $450 roughly offering at the lower end. How much depends in this super cycle calculus on how much they're able to shift that revenue more toward the higher end of the iPhone line? They don't give us a breakdown on units versus revenue, so it's harder than it used to be in the past to tell exactly which models they're selling more of.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously analysts will do their breakdown. I mean, I think if you follow my logic that you might see a stronger cycle for iPhone 16, that means we're going to have an ASP dynamic that's different than we have in the past years, where that's skewed toward the Pro and that mix has shifted toward the Pro. But I think you're absolutely right. A good portion of us sort of seeing if a super cycle plays out is really dependent on a good portion of those upgrades really being pulled forward. And I think, again, upgrades will happen in time. I think this makes a very attractive offering for, again, that very aged base that they're seeing. And again, I think this is the strongest base level iPhone that they've launched in the iPhone 16 in some time. So I think that will help. But I just don't think we're going to see a drastic pulling forward of upgrades based on the hardware. We know we have an aging base that just needs to upgrade, and I think a portion of that is going to fall into these next 6 months.
Ben, do you think there's any particular advantage to carriers in subsidizing the AI-enabled version of this phone? I mean, it's not like it's a network upgrade that you're particularly supporting. So does it matter for them in the calculus?
I mean, I think it does just from a contractual standpoint. There's obviously abilities to lock in more of your customers. Even if you do that upgrade, right, you're still agreeing to stay with that carrier for a long period of time. And there might be other pricing dynamics come in. I mean, I know carriers don't just offer upgrades for a device, but they might say, here's an Apple Watch as well. Here's a connectivity for that device. So they're actually offering more devices per person, and then again, a subscription rate as a part of that. So they're using that to broaden their ecosystem and then pull those economics in. But the bottom line is they want loyalty. They want customers coming and staying on their network, and there are economic advantages for them over time, regardless of model. I'm not sure that the AI features do anything to drive more data, but again, it just that customer loyalty as well as the economics for them in potential other devices and keeping them in their network is really the biggest reasons they do that.